I'm Zach Smith. I'm the Baylor beat writer for the Waco Tribune-Herald. And today I've got a sit down one-on-one interview with Baylor President Linda Livingstone. This comes on the heels of Baylor's athletics department being in flux. After 9 years as athletic director, Mack Rhoades stepped down from his position last week after taking a leave of absence for personal reasons a few weeks ago. The day after that was announced, President Livingstone released a letter that said head coach Dave Aranda would be returning next year as football coach while the school searches for a new athletic department. Now, one thing that I did not ask President Livingstone directly during our interview, but I just wanted to make clear and kind of affirm this. Dave Aranda will be the head coach in 2026. I did ask about timeline for an athletic director hire, and Dr. Livingstone was very clear that they are in the final stages of that. But whenever that person is hired, they will not come in and immediately make a change. Dave Aranda will be the head coach for Baylor in 2026. Once the Bears start playing football, that's when things can change. But there will be no immediate change when the athletic director is hired. I just wanted to make that very clear and clarify that before we get into the interview. I appreciate Baylor and President Livingstone for giving me some time. And without further ado, here's the interview. President Livingstone, thank you. Thank you again for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure to be able to do it. So
cool. Well, I guess I want to start right at the beginning, kind of, with your release on Friday, bringing back Coach Dave Aranda. I guess my first question is, before you released that, who all did you consult? Who were the decision makers, in addition to yourself, that went into making that decision?
Yeah, I certainly consulted with some of my leadership team on campus. I consulted with some folks in athletics. We consulted with some folks outside of the institution on their perspective on what it's like when you don't have an athletic director and you're trying to make a decision on a coach, and what have they seen in the past, and what works and what doesn't work, and what are those models. But ultimately it was my decision to do that. But there was a lot of thought and discernment that went into it, obviously some prayer that went into it as well, and really trying to think about how do we make a decision, a really strategic decision that's in the best interest of the football program and the athletic department for the long run, and not something that sort of we're reacting to something in the short run, particularly without an athletic director in place, which was a key part of the decision.
Right, right. Can you walk me through the timeline a little bit more? Because I know Mack Rhoades takes his leave of absence couple weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, and then ultimately steps down on the Thursday, and then you release that on Friday. I guess, had this been in the works, or what is the timeline leading up to that release?
Yeah, of course, as Mac was on leave and as we were doing our investigation into the allegations, we also were thinking about what to do, and evaluating what to do with regard to football. Because, of course, as you got down later in the season, it was important to determine what to do and how to move forward to take the uncertainty off the table, either way, for folks going forward. So, as we came to the conclusion of Mac's situation, we kind of also at that time recognized what we needed to do and what was going to be in the best interest of moving forward with football. So they were not simultaneous decisions, but they were certainly tied closely in terms of timeline and everything.
I'm curious, you're the president of Baylor, so you have a lot on your plate, not just athletics. Certainly,
that's correct.
all academics, and I think I saw your husband at the Wynton Marsalis concert the other night, which was fantastic.
Yes.
I guess I'm curious, how much does athletics take up on your plate on a day-to-day basis?
It varies quite a bit from time to time. Of course, right now it's taking up quite a bit of my
Right.
time, as you
Right.
can imagine. And I chaired the NCAA Board of Governors, was
Mhm.
on the Division I board, uh, was chair of the Big 12 Conference Board. Um, did that, was in those roles for 2 or 3 years, and on some of those, and always on the Big 12 board. So certainly in that stretch, which I kind of rolled off of all of those leadership responsibilities in the late summer, early fall. Um, took quite a bit of my time. um, but you balance it with all the other things you have to do. I mean, every university president that is a president of a school in a Power Four conference spends quite a bit of time and energy on athletics, and
Mhm.
particularly around football these days, because it's so important to us. And then of course, when you have kind of some upheaval in the leadership of your athletic program, you have to lean in and spend more time doing it. I do think for me, because I have a background in athletics
Right.
and have been connected to it my entire life in different ways, as a player, as a parent of a player, as a parent of a coach now. Um, I probably have a deeper background and experience in it than a lot of presidents. So it probably makes it easier for me to lean in when I need to, and then frankly to step out when I don't need to, than it is for some presidents that don't have that much background experience in athletics. But as with any place on campus where we're going through challenges, you lean in as much as you need to help get through that rough spot, and then you look forward to a new leader coming on that can fully take the reins. But I will say we've got great confidence in Jovan and Cody, who are interims, and they're doing a fabulous job and certainly helping to make my life easier as we go through this transition.
I mean, you kind of answered what I was going to ask there, but how much more um, chaotic has this week been in terms of your focus on athletics with all of the moving pieces?
Well, I have certainly spent a lot more time on it over the last probably 10 days than I would normally, because we had to work through Mack's transition, certainly make the decision about Dave. And then I've really tried to be very visible and present with our athletic teams and coaches, knowing that there's a lot of uncertainty, particularly for the coaches and the staff. So I was at the soccer match, the Sweet 16 soccer match at South Bend when we played Ohio State. Really proud of that team and the great run they had. And then I went to Las Vegas and watched the men play yesterday. Had lots of fans there, which was great. And of course, they had a great game yesterday. Decided I needed to be back in Waco today, so I'm gonna have to watch that one on TV against St. John's. So it's been probably busier and taken more time than it would. But again, when you have times of instability like this and uncertainty, it's important to really focus on, how we uh, take a volatile situation and make it more stable. So, and part of that is my presence and my visibility as I work with folks. So,
You certainly laid out some factors for why Coach Aranda is being retained in that letter. You know, stability, the incoming recruiting class, um, financial stewardship, right? But I'm curious. One thing you said in there was about you not settling for mediocrity, and I'm
mhm,
curious. Can you define that a little, maybe
mhm,
clearer? Because from a very on the nose perspective, a record is a record. And
mhm,
I'm just
sure.
curious, did you have a different definition of that, or what did you mean by mediocrity?
Yeah. Well, I think when you think about what you're doing with the football program, making a decision like that, you're not making a decision about this moment. You're making a
Hmm.
decision for the long run success and competitiveness of the football program. So as we think about that program, we want to win championships. We want to be one of the top schools in the conference on a consistent basis. That's not the case this year. We're all disappointed in that and frustrated by it. Certainly I am. I know our fans are. I know Coach Aranda and the players are. Um, but I think what we have to do is set up the program for long-term success and long-term ability to compete well. And it goes to some of those other factors. If late in the season, without an athletic director, you terminate a coach, you probably lose a lot of your current players that are very talented and very committed to this program. You likely lose much of a top 24 recruiting class, and then you have one opportunity in that January portal that starts January 5th, I believe, um, something like that, the 5th.
Coming
Um,
up.
to fill a roster, and there is no portal anymore in the late spring. And so when you think about the impact that could have, and with a new athletic director coming in and putting so much pressure on them for a coach hire, when a coach is going to want to know, about the structure of the program, how much NIL are we going to have, all kinds of things. um, I just felt like that much instability with a new athletic director coming in was not going to set them up to be able to make strategic and thoughtful decisions about how best to support the football program going forward. They'd be rushed to make decisions that might not actually be in the best long-term interest of the institution, especially with all the other openings that are out there at very key institutions that we would be competing with, and we'd be much later in the cycle than everybody else. So, um, it's no one thing that leads you to make that kind of a decision, but it's a combination of those. But I think, we even had someone in the industry who we've been talking to who's thought it was a really great decision that we went ahead and named Dave, and that it would make it easier for us to find a really good athletic director, that they didn't have to come in and immediately decide what to do and make that their sole focus for the first part of their work as on the as a new athletic director. So those are some of the factors that certainly led to that.
Cool. I have one last kind of rear-facing question, and then I've got some looking
Sure.
forward. What are the things from Mack Rhoades' 9 years in charge that you want to see continued? And are there
Mhm.
any areas where maybe you want to see some improvement or a new direction?
Yeah. Well, Mac did a fabulous job leading our program. He came in at such a difficult time, and really had to completely rethink the structure of our athletic program. Did tons of hiring in the program. Certainly has hired some really good coaches for us through the years. We've won a lot of championships in multiple sports under his leadership, and he was a great colleague for my leadership team. He was a member of our president's council with all our other vice presidents, and cared deeply about our mission and our institution and the academic mission of the institution. And uh, he talks, and we still talk about being champions for life in athletics. And he, I think, really drove that part of the mission forward really, really well. So lots of really positive things. I think what I would say in terms of going forward, and I don't think this is not a reflection on Mac, it's a reflection on the changing nature of college athletics. I think we've got to really think about kind of our financial model in college athletics. Everybody's doing this. And how do we financially support athletics at the level we have to be competitive on a national scale, both in the conference and nationally, um, from a financial perspective that doesn't burden the institution in a way that's harmful from to other aspects of what we're doing. And frankly, at the end of the day, we're an academic institution. We've got to make sure we continue to support that. So how do we work with our donors in ways to support what we're doing? How do we grow a broader sponsorship base? How do we think about outside NIL, doing it in a legitimate way for legitimate NIL at fair market value, that's external to the 20.5 million or so that we can spend internally? And we've got to do all of those things better to have the financial base in athletics, both from an operating budget perspective, but also from an NIL perspective. And I think the schools that are going to be successful over the long run are going to have really robust outside NIL models that are legitimate by the rules and consistent with the philosophy of what NIL was intended to be to begin with. So I think those are some things that a new athletic director is going to have to focus on to help ensure uh, our football program, our basketball programs, all of our programs can really be competitive going forward.
This might be a better question for the athletic director once they're here, but have you had any conversation with some of those donors about, have they been made aware of kind of what's going on in the athletics department at Baylor overall?
We've certainly had some conversations as appropriate with folks going forward. And certainly, I think our key donors have been really supportive and encouraging, and they recognize what a difficult circumstance we're in. And even if they haven't fully agreed with the decision about Dave, they recognize that we're trying to do what's best for the university, and want to be helpful as we go forward. So we will certainly continue to have those conversations, but it will be really important for our new athletic director to build relationships quickly with key donors,
Mhm.
really with people across the Baylor family. It's not just about our key donors, it's about those that buy season tickets, about those that buy single game tickets, It's about the experience we provide, the game day experience. And it's about building relationships broader in the Waco community and beyond. So those will be important things for a new athletic director to do early and quickly to help build that base that we need going forward to think a little bit differently about the financial model for support for athletics.
I wanted to ask about, I mean, you said in your release that you are, aggressively kind of pursuing a new athletic director. I mean, do you have what in a perfect world, what would be the timeline of bringing in someone new to lead the athletics department?
Well, we are deep into it already, and I think feel really good about kind of where we are. We would hope to do interviews within the next probably week or two, couple of weeks, and make a decision fairly quickly. Um, and I think we feel like we're probably on a timeline to be able to do that. I'm not going to write it in blood or anything and commit to it too deeply, but uh, we want to do it quickly. We want to do it efficiently, but we also want to make sure we get an exceptional person that um, loves our mission as a Christian university, understands the importance of the connection with academics, and can help us build a sustainable model to be competitive in our sports and particularly in football because of the importance it has financially for us, but in our other sports as well going forward, while also ensuring that our donor fan base is there with us along the way.
You kind of answered. I was going to ask what characteristics or skills you were looking for in an athletic director. And you mentioned before Jovan and Cody are serving as co-interim ADs. Are
Mhm.
internal candidates part of that potential pool of prospects?
Yeah, we're not going to have internal candidates in the pool, and they know that. They've been made aware of that, and they were very supportive and understanding and want to be helpful in any way they can to help the new athletic director when they come in to be successful.
Cool. I'm curious. You mentioned it in your letter that this is going to cause some very strong opinions. I'm
Mhm.
curious, do you think there's any repair that needs to be done between Baylor and its fans?
I certainly think the reaction that we've had to it is was what we probably expected that we were going to get, given the season that we've had. So not unexpected at all. But absolutely, we're going to have to work with our fans and help them kind of rebuild confidence in the program. It'll be an important role for the athletic director, for all of us that support the athletic program. And I think that, one of the first things that will happen when a new athletic director gets here, as we conclude the football season, is Coach Aranda will sit down with that athletic director as well as others in the athletic program and look at, what do we need to do going forward to try to ensure a more competitive product next year than we had this year. And I know Dave already has some thoughts on that. I know a new athletic director will have some thoughts, and all of that will be really, really important as we build for next year and seek to be competitive going into the fall. And then, hopefully that will send the message to the fans that we're serious about this, and they'll get excited about who the new athletic director is and some of the things that we'll be doing differently going forward.
Have you spoken with Coach Aranda at all since maybe Matt took his leave or since you made this announcement?
Yeah, I've spoken to him a couple of times. Yeah, we've met on a couple of occasions to talk through this and to provide encouragement as he goes through the end of the season.
Um, is there anything that I don't know, need to see from him moving into 2026 to kind of ensure that he's back for, moving forward?
Mhm. I know Dave loves this team. He loves these players. And I think that he is always very open to learning and to change. So I think that, seeing some of the changes that will probably need to be made and his willingness to do that, I think will be really important. And I have no doubt that he will be willing to do that. I think that he's going to also have to, and he knows this as well, work on how he builds those relationships and rapport with the community more broadly. He's pretty quiet and introverted naturally, but he's just a wonderful person to get to know and to be around. And I think the more he can spend time with people in our community, they'll see that as well and see his commitment um, and rally around, especially as we have a new AD and make some changes that I think will help that program to be successful next year.
I think this is my last one. You
Mhm.
mentioned that this is a very the coaching cycle right now is a very competitive market. There's a lot of open jobs and a lot of big name universities. And I'm curious where, as someone who works for Baylor and is in charge of Baylor, where does Baylor stack up in
Mhm.
terms of the national college athletics standpoint? Where do you think Baylor stacks up to everyone?
Mhm. Well, I think we've always found when we've gone out and recruited coaches, recruited athletic directors in the past, recruited assistant coaches, recruited players. We stand up very well nationally and really across all sports. We're a special and unique kind of place. And it will take special and unique people to be here and to be successful here. But we want folks that are deeply committed to our Christian mission and our academic mission, in addition to wanting to have competitive programs. And that's not what everybody wants to do. But those that want to do it think Baylor's a really special place, and they will choose to come to Baylor and stay at Baylor, even if they could go somewhere else and maybe make more money or be in a different environment, because we are unique as a Research One university with a distinctively Christian mission that plays in a Power Four conference, that does research at the highest level. And that's unique in higher education. And it provides a unique environment for coaches and student athletes as well. And we think that's a unique draw. So I think we can recruit with the best of them, both for staff and coaches and athletes, and compete with the best of them as well going forward.